Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger.
Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the largest Bitcoin crash that we have seen in months. Yesterday, Bitcoin dropped all the way back down below $100,000, and I was so very enthused to be able to buy Bitcoin at sub $100,000 again. It was such a good feeling. I mean, come on, who else feels that way? It was such a good feeling to be able to buy Bitcoin below $100,000 again. Very, very excited to be back. I do apologize for missing the last couple of days. On Monday, I came down with a very, very, very bad case of the COVIDs. Sure did. Couldn't move. Literally, I could not move. Like, I'd get up, move around a little bit, and throw up. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. I could not move. And yesterday, we spent a great deal of time at the hospital trying to get some heart tests done for my wife. She has 3 leaky valves in her heart. And we're trying to figure out if that's causing some chest pain in her. So had to spend the majority of the day yesterday at the hospital, a cardiologist, etc. So we're trying to get some answers on that. Think everything's going to be all right, but we need to be vigilant because our family's health comes first, understandably. I'm sure you guys understand. I'm sure you feel the same way. That said, I'm feeling better, and we're starting to get some answers on that front. So let's do it. Let's get started. Let's read some chat. I'm so excited to be here. Man, we tweeted so much yesterday. We literally got 600 followers on X yesterday because I've just been going crazy on X. If you guys have not followed me on X, you need to. Very active over there. Music Maker Mart said first. Yes, you were first. Good to see you, my friend. Hypermix is in chat. Rob's in chat. Billy Skills 1428. Ava Angel D. Sean O'Brien, Kryptoni, Hypermix, Chris Rock, Rocket Race, Kara Kenatoy, Anonymous, Sam, Sovereign Guy, Bitcoiner, just plain and simply the Bitcoiner. Absolutely. Halvard, Mihai, NYC, Israel's in chat. Wow. Rob's in chat. Good morning, everybody. And in case I missed anybody, good morning to everybody who I may have missed. We've got a lot to cover today. So without much further ado, let's get started. Bitcoin is currently trading at $103,380, which is a very exciting level because yesterday, Bitcoin dropped beneath $100,000. Not once, not twice, but if I recall correctly, thrice. We had one tiny little drop right here. Then we had another drop right here and another drop right here. And it's very interesting to see how Bitcoin got bought up so aggressively when dropping beneath $100,000. There were obviously a great number of buy orders sitting down here at approximately $99,000. And so Bitcoin ended up eating up those buys. And Bitcoin ended up rallying. And one of the things that was very interesting about yesterday's price action is that Bitcoin would just crash very aggressively beneath $100,000. And then right there, about 5 minutes before the hour ended, Bitcoin would go through this major pump right back up above $100,000, which is so interesting because it really shows me that this was one gigantic manipulated event. It really does. It just points out to me that Bitcoin's just looking absolutely terrible. And then the hourly close is right here. Right? This is 7 p.m., right? Sorry, 5 p.m., 1700 hours. And then this is the hourly close right here. You can see moving right up there. Let's look at the full hourly candlestick. So these vertical lines right here represent the time inside of one hourly candlestick, right? See how we start the hourly, drop right back down below 100,000? About half of the way through the hour, Bitcoin V-bottoms and rallies right back up above, so that on the hourly chart, it's just a little wick. On the hourly chart, what happened is we just wicked below 100K, right? The dashed line is $100,000. Bitcoin didn't even close an hourly candlestick down there. I think that is a completely manipulated fact, personally. I can't prove it. But I think it's very much some market manipulation with market makers driving the market down to these levels to trigger liquidations, also to freak people out so that they can get low entries. A lot of very rich and powerful whales got a ton of entries yesterday, down below 100,000. I was one of them. Now, I'm not obviously as big as some of these whales, but I do hold a good bit of Bitcoin, and I do have cash on the side that is ready to deploy. And I was very excited to be able to buy the dip down here below $100,000. And that actually reminds me of something that I want to go over today. You guys know me. I do my best to maintain to be as integral as I possibly can. And one thing that one of the outflowings of that is I try as well as I can to tell you when I've done something that I don't like. When I'm learning something, I'm like, man, I could have done a better job. And one thing I'm learning is that I need to stop buying tops. I'll tell you what. Your boy Jeb did a really good job putting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cash into Bitcoin down here. But then the issue was I just kept buying and buying and buying and buying as we went to all-time high. My wife talked me out of it. Thank God for my wife. She's amazing. I almost bought $35,000 of Bitcoin at the exact top. She's like, you probably shouldn't do that. It's probably going to have a correction. And right when she said that, I said, you know what? Wait a minute. There is the long-term uptrend here. Maybe I shouldn't put $35,000 of our hard-earned money into Bitcoin when we're right below this top. Maybe Bitcoin ought to go through a correction first, so I didn't do it. But I did. I bought quite a bit of Bitcoin up here and like right here and right here and right here. And so one thing I'm learning is that I need to be more disciplined about stacking the cash and then setting limit orders like 18 to 20% off of all-time high. Because even with how large Bitcoin is, this was still a 20% correction. Still a 20% movement to the downside. If I had just set all of the cash that I put into Bitcoin here, which is several $100,000, into one limit order down here, 20% away from all-time high, which, you know, depending on the date, that limit order would have been 20% retrace from this all-time high, which is 99,000. You know, 20% retrace from this all-time high is approximately 101. If I had just set the couple $100,000, I would have gotten an extra like half a Bitcoin just because I was more diligent. So that's something I'm learning is I need to do a better job about not just being like, I like where Bitcoin is today. I think I'll buy a bunch. I need to be more disciplined about saying I need to place those entries a lot lower. And so that said, I do kind of want to go over some of the things we did right. I have not been liquidated, not a single time in this entire correction. You know, obviously our portfolio is down multiple six figures as Bitcoin is crashing. That's okay. Not sold. Don't really care. But what I do know is that I want to be better about being more disciplined about saying, instead of just buying every single day, why don't we dollar cost average and set money aside every single day and then set it on limit orders that are 18 to 25% below the all-time high. And then in that case, we're going to end up getting much, much better entries in the long run. So that's an adjustment that I'm making to my own strategy that you might find interesting. But let's do a little bit of actual technical analysis about where Bitcoin is and about where we believe Bitcoin is going. The sentiment is garbage right now. The sentiment is absolute dumpster fire levels of garbage. It's absolute trash. Bitcoin dropped $17,000 in 7 days. That is on par with the kind of drop that we saw over here where Bitcoin dropped $16,000 in 4 days. This is a very large correction, and people are right to be concerned because we have a lot of technicals that are pointing down. We have the head and shoulders pattern right here, and then the right shoulder is also a head and shoulders pattern, and both of these patterns are pointing towards respective lows. The bigger inverse head and shoulders pattern is pointing towards $87,000. This smaller head and shoulders pattern right here is pointing, as you can see, to approximately where we are, maybe about 97, 98, right in here. And so there is definitely reason to be bearish on Bitcoin, and there is definitely reason to doubt this correction. I don't know for sure whether or not we're going to see this be the bottom. I don't know whether this was the end of the correction. If it was, I will tell you something. If this was the bottom, if we just bottomed out here and we don't go back below 100 and then we just rally up in the end of November, back up towards $125,000 and just leave 125 behind forever, it's possible that sub $100,000 is gone forever, and that was the last time you'll ever get an entry. We saw a wick down here below 100K. But even back here in June, I think it was June, the day that Trump bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities, we did close multiple hourly candlesticks down here. In fact, we closed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hourly candlesticks below $100,000. We spent 8 hours below 100K. Bitcoin did not close a single hourly candlestick below 100K. So this is still, as it stands, a higher low. This is a higher low than the low that we saw in June. And then we also, of course, have our higher highs. So theoretically speaking, you could argue that we're still in an uptrend. I think that we are close to the gates of a bear market, but I don't think that bear market is confirmed until we've broken beneath a couple of uptrends. Number one, this uptrend right here. Number two, if we look at the weekly chart 50, this is a big metric that a lot of people are talking about, and I think it is very valid. I think it is something that we ought to be paying very close attention to. The 50 weekly simple moving average is sitting right here at approximately 103,000. I want to see Bitcoin bounce on, or at least close on, the 50 weekly simple moving average. But as we have not done that yet, we are not in a confirmed bear market yet. We need to see a considerable break below the 50 weekly moving average. And I would also say a considerable break below this uptrending level of support, because Bitcoin can break a little bit below the 50 moving average and stay down there for a time. If it stays down there for too long, then yes, you're probably going into a bear market. But the point is, we're not there right now. You know, we kind of had a couple of pretty large wicks below the 50 weekly moving average back over here, 7% below it. And Bitcoin still managed to go on and double in price over the course of 112 days. So it could mean that we're in the late stage of a bull market, but it doesn't necessarily mean the market is over. So here's the kind of the TLDR. Bitcoin is close to a bear market confirmation. Anywhere between 92 to 103 is basically your decision point. That's really when Bitcoin has to start asking hard questions in this zone right here. This is a big old question mark. What we do in this zone dictates whether or not the 4-year halving cycle is dead and Bitcoin ends up moonshotting, or whether or not we are about to see Bitcoin going into a bear market. We have been very clear on our prediction for what a bear market would look like. We have said time and time again that if Bitcoin does start breaking through key support architecture, such as $100,000, such as $92,000 to $94,000, and we'll go ahead and add to that the 50 weekly simple moving average. If we start breaking through all of those levels, then yes, it does most likely mean that Bitcoin is going into a bear market, albeit it would be a bear market that would be, in my opinion, smaller than what we've seen in past. Our prior bear markets have been at least 77% in time. In bear markets past, we've seen bear markets over 83% deep. I believe, for a multitude of reasons, that this bear market would be at its maximum probably 60% deep, down to about $50,000. Really big time worst case scenario would be maybe a 70% drop down to $37,000. But honestly, that would be kind of pushing it. That'd be a drop back down to the 0.786 off of the whole bull market here at approximately $40,000. I think the absolute worst case scenario for Bitcoin would be Bitcoin having a slow grind down towards like $40,000 to $50,000 late next year, and then rallying and it looking something like this. This is like worst case scenario. And we should be prepared for worst case scenario. I mean, it is possible that Bitcoin does something like this. Now, we probably wouldn't. We'd probably bottom even faster than that. So let's see here. We'd probably, if we were to go into a bear market, you know, just general idea here, might be something like this. And you probably rally pretty quickly up here towards $200,000, $300,000, moving in towards the end of the decade, something like that. So with all that in mind, what should we be doing right now? The most important thing that you can do is have a plan for what you plan on doing if the market does something that you don't like. And right now, that looks like this. You need to have cash. You need to have cash. If you do not have cash, you are going to be in a pickle, and there's a few reasons why. I want to go over those. Number one, if you are on leverage, if you have leveraged your investment portfolio and you don't have cash to pay down that debt, you could liquidate everything. And there are a great number of you guys who are being absolutely foolish and going long on Bitcoin, and you have liquidations at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. I want to be very clear. If you're doing a long-term investment type leverage play on Bitcoin, you need to have your liquidation down below $35,000. And you need to have a plan to drive it down to like $20,000. Because at the end of the day, Bitcoin can go into a bear market. The 4-year halving cycle has not been invalidated yet. I believe it's going to be, but it has not yet been invalidated. The 4-year halving cycle being dead and the super cycle being true is not proven yet. Okay? I've been very clear on this. We have not proven that the 4-year halving cycle is dead. We think it's going to be dead, but we don't know that for sure yet. Okay? And if it's not, that means you could see a 50 to 60% bear market in 2026. And if so, you need to make sure that you're not going to get liquidated, because you have worked for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, some of you guys, to build your current portfolio. And if you just go and be foolish and you get it all wrecked, then you just wasted 10 years of your wealth building career. You can't do that. It's not acceptable. You have to use proper risk management. I'm so tired of seeing people losing 60% of their net worth in a day because they're not using proper risk management. Look, I believe in Bitcoin so much, I'm willing to ride it straight down to the bottom of the bear market and just buy more. But I'm not doing that with any altcoins either. Okay? I am going to have cash, and I'm going to be ready to pay down debt if I need to. Second thing, I'm going to have cash so that I don't have to sell Bitcoin at a discount. If I have to sell Bitcoin at a discount, I'm going to be so sad. I'm not going to want to do that. I don't want Bitcoin to be at $60,000 and I have to sell Bitcoin to cover expenses. That's just ridiculous. We don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Don't put yourself in that position where you have to sell Bitcoin at $60,000 to cover expenses. You need to have some cash. Many investors recommend keeping between 5 and 20% of your overall portfolio in cash. Now, I don't like cash because cash is trash because it inflates. But you can at least put it in a money market account or in a T-bill or in, some high yield savings accounts that get you 4.5%. And you can almost keep up with inflation, M2 growth, at that rate. And you'll pay 1, 2, 3% of the inflation tax to hold your wealth in that medium. But it's worth it to stop you from losing your overall Bitcoin position. You don't want to have to sell Bitcoin at a loss because in that case, instead of losing 3% per year on your cash to inflation, I mean, I'm talking about even plus 4% in like a money market or a T-bill or something, you're still losing 3% because M2 is like 6 to 7%. Instead of losing 3%, what you're doing instead is you are putting yourself at risk where you have to lose Bitcoin at a 50% loss. You're putting yourself in a position where you might have to sell Bitcoin at $65,000 and you're down 50%. I'd rather take the guaranteed 3% than the risk of losing 50% of my Bitcoin, 50% of the value of my Bitcoin. I would much rather take that risk. And so that's something I've also learned in this cycle is honestly, I went from being too cash heavy over here. I tell you guys everything that I do, right and wrong. I went from being too cash heavy over here. I told you guys, moving into January of this year, I had about $185,000 of cash on top of our investments. And I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing with all this cash? Cash is trash. It's inflating like crazy. I'm just sitting here being a bad steward of this. I'm going to go ahead and dump it into the investment that I believe in. And so I dumped basically all of the $180,000 into Bitcoin, kept basically zero cash. I mean, I'm talking like a couple $1,000s. We've got tons and tons and tons of investments, and I've got a couple grand in cash. And now, over the last few months, I'm like, man, I really wish I had held on to some more of that cash. And right now, when Bitcoin's dropping below 100, don't get me wrong, we took some entries, but I wish I had $150,000, $200,000 to buy the dip. Whereas I have money, but I don't have that much money to buy the dip, right? And so that's something that I'm learning is I want to make sure that I have cash, not only to cover basic operating expenses, not only to pay down debt in case I need to in a bear market, but the third reason is because I want to have cash to buy the dip. So what I've been doing over the last couple of months to rectify these mistakes that I've made is I've been saying I'm going to stack some more cash and I'm going to hold off on acquiring Bitcoin unless Bitcoin is 20% down from all-time high. And so I did actually make some acquisitions yesterday down here at $99,500. Got some buys in below 100K. And I was so very ecstatic. And in the future, what I will be able to do is say, hey, I'm going to hold on to some more cash, which will allow me to be even more peaceful. It'll allow me to be more aggressive. It'll allow me to take it'll allow me to take out more, it'll allow me to take basically, like I said, take more risk and be more aggressive in the Bitcoin market. And also what I'm trying to say is get better entries if I see a big drop. And so these are things that you really seriously want to consider. Another thing that I want you to consider is that you need to have cold storage. You need to have your Bitcoin in cold storage because when we go into a bear market, not when, but if, I'm not confident that we're going to, but if we go into a bear market, if Bitcoin is not able to hold here at the 50 weekly and it does go into a bear market, there are going to be exchanges that go under. You're going to see certain exchanges go belly up. There are going to be exchanges that disappear. And you don't want that to happen to you, right? You don't want to lose your wealth like that. And so this is the largest wick that we've put beneath the 50 weekly ever in this bull market. Can you see that? So there is a chance that the armor's cracking and we could go into a bear market. I'm not saying that I think we will. My base case is still that Bitcoin has a bullish Q1 of 2026, or at least Q2. And by the way, I have some insider sources that are saying that's what they believe also. Some names that work at very large exchanges. You would know the name of these exchanges. This is more than one source. These are people that are expecting that you're going to see large rallies on Bitcoin moving into next year. I do believe that as well. I think that you might see a miniature bear market. You might see a bear market down to like maybe 75 or something. But in general, I think 2026 is overall going to be a very, very bullish year. And so that's something that I want to really encourage you guys to do, is to make sure that you're following good principles. If I can encourage you to do one thing from this stream, and we'll look at technicals here in a minute. I know you tune in for technicals, but I'm giving you advice because I really want to make sure that you're prepared no matter what the market does. What I want to encourage you to do is take a principle-centered approach. When you are going about anything in life, the more that you can hold fast to good, strong, solid principles and value them as core values, the more successful you'll be. So you have to find the right values. What are the right values? Well, you need to have cash to buy the debt. Well, you need to either not have debt or manage it very carefully, right? You need to make sure you're not over leveraged. You need to make sure that you protect your assets, right? That's a part of risk management. That's where cold storage comes in, is what is your risk management system? What are you doing to protect your assets? And that kind of reminds me here of Stampseed. If you guys have not already bought Stampseed's products, you absolutely should, because you can stamp your seed phrases into titanium. When you think about risk management, you need to think about things like, what if my house burns down? You know, like I was on a date with my wife the other day, and when I came back, I was like, man, I walked in and I was like, anyway, I won't tell that story on air, actually. I won't tell that story. But anyway, the point is, if you got kids, sometimes they do stupid stuff. And it's like, one of these kids is going to burn the house down sometime. I'll tell you a story. I was cooking some chicken pot pie in the oven. I put it on the broiler, and I was very inexperienced with the broiler. And turns out I opened the oven, and sure enough, the whole thing's on fire. I had to grab the fire extinguisher and go, do that kind of number on the thing. Your house can burn down. You really can't. If you're not careful, crap happens. I mean, are you protecting your wealth from everything that you can think of? You need to go to the worst case scenario and say, am I ready for that? Go to the worst case scenario, say, am I ready for that? This is a principle of success, is going to the worst case scenario and preparing for it. And so, for example, like I said, with Stampseed, one of those is your house could burn down. Your seed phrases catch on fire and they're gone. I'm sorry, your Bitcoin's deleted. You can't find it ever again. So Stampseed is a great option for that. At the end of the day, you need to make sure that you are preparing for whatever might come. And so we need to be ready for a bear market, even though I'm still of the opinion that I don't think what's going to happen. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I do want to make sure that I encourage you guys to hedge your bets, because it is still technically Bitcoin's 4-year halving cycle has not been invalidated yet. I think if we do have a bear market, it'll be significantly smaller than what we've seen in the past. But in general, we do still want to be ready. Now, someone asked, stamp seed, stamp seed, like a seed phrase. You got a hammer, you got a little die, and it has the letters, and you can stamp your seed phrases into the titanium here. The reason you would do that is titanium has a melting point of over 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which means that if your house burns down, your seed phrases are safe. You can purchase Stampseed products with the link in the description box down below. You absolutely should. All right, now let's do a little bit of charting. I know that's what you came here for. Let's talk about what we are looking at right now. Now, if you'll recall, we made a prediction back over here. I believe it was on October the 12th or October the 13th. I said back here that the market looked like this on the 12th. Actually, it was a little bit further. I think it was right about here. Yeah, it was on the 12th or 13th. I said right about here that Bitcoin would go to between $94,000 to $100,000. That was our call. I'll just go ahead and drop this box into our call zone. We called Bitcoin going to $94,000 to $100,000, and I got mocked to scorn for this because, of course, Bitcoin was just a couple of days off an all-time high. A lot of people thought, oh man, Bitcoin's going to be fine. We just had a big liquidation event. It's going to get bought up. It'll be fine. But one thing that I was very much feeling back then, right after the 1010 crash, was that a lot of people that provide a lot of buying pressure to the market just got absolutely eviscerated. And so with that happening, I anticipated that Bitcoin would have to fall to major bull market structural support. And that bull market structural support was found in two different areas. It was found at $100,000, the psychological big even, and it was also found at $94,000, which is the uptrending level of support right here. And also to a lesser degree, it's also found right here on this fair value gap and CME futures gap between $80,000 and $92,000. Sorry, $90,000 and $92,000. So our prediction evolved about a month ago into something that more or less looked like this. We're most likely going to fall into this box right here, and then worst case scenario, we might fall into this box and wick and bounce. And I also said on X, it'd be hard to find, but in fact, Grok can find it. I said on X, by the way, if you guys ever want to look up calls from people to see if they're right or if they're making it up, just look up the call. Just look up the call. Grok can find it. Here we go. I always use Grok to find my calls. You can go on Grok and you say, hey, Jeb said he said this. Grok, can you find it? So in late October 2025, he emphasized stacking sats during any pullbacks. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. That's interesting. Okay, well, I can't find it. But anyway, I posted something. I think it might be in my bookmarks over here. But anyway, we talked about how Bitcoin would most likely spend less than 7 days below, I'm not sure where it is, but we said that Bitcoin would most likely spend less than 7 days below $100,000, and it would end up being a very strong bottom. As you can see here, we talked about, let's see, we talked about Bitcoin dropping down to, for example, if Bitcoin starts trading below 90K, a bear market between $50,000 to $75,000 will occur. The bounce will be enormous in this case. If you long right now with a liquidation at 95,000, this was on October the 18th. If you long right now with a liquidation at 95,000, congrats, you're the reason we'll break 100K. They'll hunt you. This was us calling for $100,000 to be broken. I said 107K is a once in a generation buying opportunity. It's possible our 94 to 100K call underestimates the power of the 100K support. I'm still buying these levels, not waiting. A once in a generation investment opportunity near or slightly below 100K is approaching. Do not miss it. This was on October the 17th. I was telling you were going to drop back down towards $100,000. I also said, of course, Bitcoin will go as low as 92 to 94,000, then we'll blast off to well over $150,000 in Q1 of 2025. These are our calls. We've been vindicated so far on the first side of the call, which is that Bitcoin would drop back down to $100,000, because if you go ahead and chart forward the chart, you can see, several weeks after we made that call, it came to pass. But now the question is, can Bitcoin bounce here and actually hold this market? I'm inclined to think that Bitcoin's going to put up one hell of a fight. Backtesting $100,000 is a really big deal. And the reason it's a really big deal is because it actually was the take profit of a lot of shorts. If you go on over to CoinGlass, excuse me. Sorry, like I said, still recovering from COVID. So for any of you guys in the front row, watch out for the splash zone here. If we go on over to CoinGlass here, you're going to see that a great number of liquidations have taken place. And what CoinGlass will not be able to show you is that we have seen a great number of shorts taking profit. A lot of people had their shorts taking profit, of course, naturally, at $100,000. And so a bunch of people exited short positions and provided buy liquidity, provided buy pressure there at $100,000. We saw a bunch of longs get liquidated yesterday. Yesterday at 3 o'clock, saw $368 million. 4 o'clock, $200 million. At noon, we saw $200 million. In general, yesterday, we saw over $1 billion of longs getting liquidated. And that's really not surprising. The reason that took place, $1.2 billion worth of longs getting liquidated during the day yesterday, the reason that took place is because a bunch of people had their liquidation levels just a little bit below 103K. And as we said in that tweet, this is what I told you would happen. Where is it over here? I said, where is it? If you have a long right now with a liquidation at 95K, congrats, you're the reason that we'll break 100,000. They'll hunt you. I never predicted that we would bounce exactly off of $100,000. We have predicted from day one that Bitcoin would bounce a little bit below $100,000. And that's the reason. Now, if you look at the heat map for the liquidations, what you're going to find is going to be the setup for the greatest long squeeze that Bitcoin has seen in a very long time. Whether it'll come to pass or not is yet to be determined. But what we do know is that there is an absolutely enormous, let's go down to model 3 here, probably is the best one to look at. What we do know is that there is an absolutely enormous amount of short liquidity sitting right below us. Got to log in to see if it'll show it to us. Let's see if it'll give us the chart without making us log into CoinGlass. I don't have a CoinGlass account. Maybe I ought to make a CoinGlass account. Someone tell me. Anybody here from CoinGlass? Let's see if Heat Map V2 will work. If not, I'll just show the other one. Obviously not going to do that right now live on air. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see if I can zoom out here. If not, we'll just use the original model. It'll work. Yeah, here we go. This is a good visual representation of how much short liquidity there is. As you can see, there's a great amount of short liquidity of liquidity down here at like 90,000. There's a bunch of long liquidations down here at 90,000. If you drop down to 90,000, this is where we talk about if Bitcoin breaks 92, you're going into use model 2. Yeah, that's what we're doing now. If you go down to $92,000, if you break below $92,000, even for just a little bit of time, the long squeeze will be biblical, and you'll probably see Bitcoin drop down to 80. But if Bitcoin does not start breaking below 100 and we're able to hold it, look at that massive amount of liquidity sitting up there right now at 112. If Bitcoin is able to rally back up to 112, and there's also a lot of short liquidity in here too that this isn't necessarily catching because CoinGlass doesn't catch all of it. There's a lot of short liquidity up here in this zone, right? In this zone, right here, right here. It's a pretty easy path back up towards 112 to eat all the shorts. Now, the problem is if Bitcoin does rally back up to 112, it's probably going to do it on short trades getting liquidated. The problem from there is that what sends us back up to 116? Is it just more shorts getting liquidated? At some point, Bitcoin has to get its feet under it and start a new rally. It can't just be liquidating shorts. It can't just be people stopping out short trades. And so I am not prepared at this point in time to tell you whether or not Bitcoin just bottomed at 94 to 100K or not. We made the call that Bitcoin would go down to 94 to 100,000. We got it right. I don't know whether or not Bitcoin is done breaking below 100. But what I can do is this. What we can do is we can look at some different Fibonacci's to try and get an idea of when we might have confidence that Bitcoin is done bottoming. So what we want to do is we want to pull a Fibonacci right here off of the entire market. And what you're going to see is that Bitcoin has only so far broken above the 0.236. If Bitcoin broke all the way up to 110,000 and touched the 0.618, that would still theoretically just be a retracement, not an actual new breakout. So in my book, I need to see Bitcoin get above 110 to 112, which is this zone right here. I need to see Bitcoin get above this zone right here before I can say that we're out of the woods on Bitcoin going below $100,000 in the short-term time frame. That's what I need to see. I need to see Bitcoin get up here. I need to see it eat these shorts because there's a lot of them. I mean, you're talking a couple $100 million worth of short liquidations, if not even more than that. At that point in time, I need to see Bitcoin actually be able to start to establish an uptrend. At the moment, Bitcoin is still very, very firmly in a downtrend. People are buying the bottom, which is great. But if this rally just kind of rolls over right here and comes back to test 100K again, you're probably going lower. So it is far too early to be bullish on Bitcoin. Far, 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 far too early to be bullish on Bitcoin in the short to medium term. Right now, what you need to be preparing for is a drop back down to 94 to 100K again, and you need to make sure that your bear market preparation is ready. Once again, I don't think we're going into a bear market. That said, at all points in time, you should be ready for that possibility. Let me say that one more time. I don't think we're going into a bear market, but at all times, you should be ready for that possibility. In the same way that I don't think that the United States stock market is about to go into a giant recession, but at any point in time, as much as you can, you should be prepared for that possibility. For example, for us, I'm looking at acquiring between 50 to 70 acres of land, farmland, relatively soon over the next few years. I want to build a house out there. I'm going to get a well. Get a hand pump well, get some solar, get a gas tank, go completely off grid. Have the ability to say, hey, if society hits the fan, I can retreat back here and just be ready for whatever comes, right? I want to be ready for the worst case scenario because I am a man and it's my job to protect my family no matter what. And so as a man, 93% of our audience is male. Sorry to the 5 of you who are women that are listening, but hopefully you'll go and share this with your husband and convict him a little bit. As a man, if you're listening to this, your job is to protect your family. And so if you're not in a position where your family's protected and provided for in the possibility of a bear market, you need to fix that. I'm not saying that I think one's going to happen. I want to be very clear. I don't think a bear market's coming. But you need to make sure that you're ready for it. And the way you make sure you're ready for it is you have cash to buy the dips and to make sure that you can cover operating expenses for your business or for your family so that you don't have to sell Bitcoin at a loss because we're trying to build long-term holding positions. Now, as far as short-term technical analysis is concerned, Bitcoin is very obviously trying to break through the 50 hourly simple moving average, which currently sits right here. The question becomes whether or not Bitcoin will. So we will watch this closely. I am encouraged by these long lower wicks here, how Bitcoin just kind of put these long lower shadows below 100K, but didn't actually close an hourly chart candlestick below 100K. The highest time frame that we closed below 100K was the 30-minute, right? 2-hour time frame, 4-hour time frame, 6-hour, 8-hour, etc. None of it closed below $100,000, which is very, very, very encouraging. So pretty happy with the way all that looks. I am looking for right now, and I am kind of anticipating Bitcoin to start rallying to the upside, but I need technical confirmation. Now, as far as technical confirmation is concerned, one thing we could be looking for here is an over-under test. We have this downtrend. If Bitcoin falls over here, back tests and rallies, then this could be it's a bit of a jank, but a bit of a 3-5A trade entry. So we have our, man, like I said, it's a little bit janky. Not quite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's not very good, but you could look at this. Yeah, it's not really Elliott wave. But regardless, you could still, even though you don't have original Elliott wave, you could look for an ABC correction. And if you did, you'd pull the fib right here, looking for a retracement back down towards the 0.5 or the 0.618. Put an entry down here. So if Bitcoin drops back down to like 101, might not be a bad place for a long entry. You could also argue that Bitcoin already did that. And that was the falling over right there. And that was your long entry. So in general, Bitcoin is in the 4-hour and daily time frame. On the 4-hourly and daily time frame, it is still technically bearish until we can get through some key levels. But down on the 1-hourly chart, there is a rally forming, and so we want to see what comes of this. Was not a bad idea to long 100K with a stop loss down to 98K. Was not a bad idea at all. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. Jeb, I'm a design build pro and vibe with self-sovereignty. That's why we are here. After all, I'll design your home. Thank you. That'd be awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jeb, start a pantry. That's what I want to do. I do want to do a lot with, because what's the point of making money if you're not going to help people with it? You know, there's just no, there's not really any, just boring. What's the point? Jeb, give us some wisdom on these privacy coins rallying. They know that the deep state is growing. The guy who we sent up there to drain the swamp very well may be a part of them. Who knows? Don't know. The privacy coins are rallying because government is getting really, really big and really, really scary. You saw who just got elected in NYC yesterday. Why don't you point out the obvious Wyckoff distribution pattern that was playing out in October, Jeb? I have seen that Wyckoff pattern. Quite frankly, I want to study it more before I take an opinion on it, but it does look like Wyckoff. I will say that. It does look like that. Why didn't you point out Wyckoff distribution pattern in October, Jeb? Fail to protect your family, lol. Our family is not hurt at all by this drop. If anything, our family is encouraged because I got to buy the dip. I bought the crap out of the dip. Literally yesterday, my wife and kids are in the car and we're driving home, and I put on Crypto Face's song, buy the dip, and we're just blasting it, right? And I had to keep turning it down every like 5 seconds because of all the curse words in it. But I had my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old in the backseat going, buy the dip, buy the dip. My 2-year-old going, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. It was so cute. It was the cutest thing ever. I was sitting there, I had to pull over and like buy the dip. It was great. It was great. No, our family has profited from Bitcoin dropping because riches are made in bull markets. Wealth, my friends, is made in bear markets. It's all about the entry. Can't exit what you never entered. People don't understand that, though. What are the real-world indicators? Yes, so that's a great point. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world right now, because it is a big part of what's going on. Why is Bitcoin dropping like this? Part of the reason that Bitcoin dropped like this is because the government shut down. The last time that we saw a government shut down this long, and just showing you on the chart will kind of hopefully show you what's going on. The last time that we saw a government shut down this long was right here. It's the last time. We saw a 35-day government shutdown at the end of 2018, early 2019, something like that. Bitcoin then moonshot up to 14K, and soon thereafter it rallied up to 68K, 67K, right? So the government shutdown has been bearish for Bitcoin. That much is pretty obvious. But what we're also coming to realize is that the government shutdown is not going to last forever. Eventually, Schumer is going to blink, or Trump's going to blink, one of them. One of them's going to blink, and the government shutdown is going to end somehow. I don't know how, I don't know when, but eventually it's going to happen. When it does, you're also going to most likely see jobs data coming out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which will help which will make it more obvious that Jerome Powell and the Fed need to cut rates. So you see more rate cuts. You'll see quantitative easing coming in. You already see the repo markets blowing up, right? And so what you're witnessing right now is a shift into risk-on assets, and Bitcoin's going to benefit from this. It doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever that basically every single other asset in the world is at all-time high, and Bitcoin isn't. Makes zilch sense, right? Gold's sitting down here at $4,000 an ounce. SPY is basically at all-time high. You understand what I mean? Like, you need to not... It doesn't make sense for Bitcoin to go into a bear market right now. It makes no sense whatsoever. The only way, and I posted this somewhere on X yesterday. I've been posting so much, it's going to be hard to find. But the only way... What did I say? Where did I find it? If 2026 isn't a Bitcoin bull market, it's because literally everything collapsed. Bookmark this. I bookmarked it. If Bitcoin does not go into a massive bull market in 2026, it's because the entire global economy is collapsing. Because the writing on the wall is that stocks and everything are about to completely fly. That's what we're expecting. End of shutdown historically lowers Dixie and pumps risk on assets. That's right. So, not terribly concerned about Bitcoin right now. 94 to 100K is still in play. I can't say for sure that that is done with. We're not going to be entering into a new prediction until Bitcoin kind of establishes itself. We just don't know that yet, what exactly it's going to do. But our current prediction is 94 to 100K. We've already partially filled that prediction, so we have been proven right on that. That prediction was made almost a month ago on this channel, right here on this stream. So we will continue to make new predictions as we have new data. But right now, we don't know for sure that that's in the rearview mirror. I'm leaning in the direction that it is, but we need more technical confirmation than what we have right now. A lot of people are asking, what's the best hardware wallet? I've used basically all of them. They all have their benefits. They all have their drawbacks. I do like Trezor. I like Ledger too. I've used Tangem, obviously Stamp Seeds over here. So yeah. The pure chart-only guys like Blockchain Backer say these are pointless narratives and that the charts tell you all you need to know, ranging and down from here. I don't agree with that. I've heard that perspective quite often, and I am considered to be one of the larger technical analysts in the Bitcoin space. I don't agree with the fact that the charts can tell you everything you need to know. The charts on Bitcoin cannot tell you what Bitcoin is, for example. It just shows you the price of the asset. You have no idea what the white paper says, just based on this. Now, the chart does tell you, wow, the world really seems to like whatever this is. It's getting adopted really hard. But it doesn't tell you everything that you need to know. Like, you need to know that on this date right here in January of 2024, exchange-traded funds came online. You need to know that. Now, you can see it in hindsight on the chart, but on the day, you had no idea that happened if you just looked at the chart. You have to pay attention to the fundamentals. It's a foolish, foolish, foolish idea. Now, that said, if you're down here trading the minute chart, yeah, really all you need is the technicals. If you're doing day trading, you need to pay attention to the fundamentals, but to a great degree, yeah, you need to mostly just look at the chart. And by the way, this is a really, really, really nice technical uptrend on the 1 minute chart. This is a beautiful uptrend that we've started since since about 5 a.m. this morning. And by the way, I do think that there's a lot of manipulation in this market, and I also think the people that are manipulating the market are inclined to say, hey, Bitcoin dropped down, we got our entries, time to moon it. Guys, by the way, if you have not already, I would highly encourage you to sign up for the exchange that we trade on, which would be none other than 2Bit. I love 2Bit, and I'm such a big fan of them. So if you guys have not signed up for 2Bit, you should check out 2Bit. And part of the reason that you should do that is because when you sign up for 2Bit and deposit $100, you can actually get access to our very own private Discord server called The First Cohort over here, where you're going to get all kinds of insights from our community, and you're also going to get our videos hours before they go out to the public, posted right here. So if you guys have not already, make sure to sign up for the first cohort. The way you do that is by signing up for 2Bit, depositing $100. Do it now so that you can get access to the first cohort Discord server and learn more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Awesome. Barron needs another couple $100 million. Yes, for real. The little people are cashing out. Yeah. Yeah. The upcoming Trezor Safe 7 is going to be quantum protection proof. Interesting. Huh, I'm going to look into that. The white paper says a peer-to-peer cash system. It isn't. Yeah, it is. It's just what Satoshi may or may not have realized is that the most important thing the world needed was a place to store value across time and across space. Bitcoin is the greatest invention in the history of mankind to store value across time and space, which is why it has so much value. And people don't understand that. That's why they aren't buying it more. But there are more people every year that understand that, which is why the price keeps going up. Let's see. A couple of people asking me about the Wyckoff thing. So let's go over Wyckoff. By the way, you don't need just one pattern to explain why a market's going to do something. We did call for 94 to 100K. We got it right. Wyckoff looks a little bit like this. I'm not going to profess to be an expert on it. I've used a lot of different trading strategies and whatnot in my day. Wyckoff is one that I've used a little bit, but not too much. Basically, this is what Wyckoff looks like. It's quite complicated, but there's phase A, B, C, D, and E. And then essentially it is a distribution that leads to a markdown, which can lead to a correction. And if we do go into a bear market, then this will end up being a great textbook example of what Wyckoff looks like. But just to keep it brief, I will just kind of go ahead and show you the chart. This is the chart. And this is what Wyckoff looks like. So you can see that there is a great deal of similarity here. Essentially, without going into too much detail, essentially you're looking at two levels of resistance, two levels of support. Those two levels of support and resistance would probably, depending on how you draw them, would probably be like this one. Let's go to a clean chart. It's kind of hard to find on my charting. Probably be this level, and then it would probably be this level, and then this level. So you come up here, you trade sideways. You set a slightly higher high, and you set a slightly lower low, and then this ends up being a reversal. And that's what's happened. Bitcoin's dropped down here. Now, we called in a multitude of other ways that Bitcoin was going to drop down below $100,000, and so we've seen that. But that's where that pattern comes in. So it is something that you can study. It's very interesting. In short, it's essentially going to predict Bitcoin going lower from here, which our prediction is not fully realized. It's very possible that Bitcoin ends up dropping down to $94,000 as we've been calling for. So something that you want to pay attention to. You don't want to assume that the market is just bottomed until we actually have confirmation that it has. I will say the hourly chart is looking very hopeful right now, but we need to give it time. What happens when the infrastructure gets shut down? You can't access the power or internet. Great question. That's why having land, guns, ammo, food, shelter, clothes, a bunch of kids, arable land. I think I already said, but land that you can farm on, a well, solar panels, heck, a Starlink, internet uplink in case internet's working. Those are all things that I'm looking at. The world's going to crap right now. I really don't want to freak you guys out, but it really is. And you need to be prepared for it. It's our job to keep our families safe and thriving, regardless of what's going on in society. And sometimes that's not possible, right? So sometimes things have just gone so much to pot that there's just nothing you can do about it. But as much as we can, we want to try and keep ourselves and our families safe. And continuing to shine the light in the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. All right. Who keeps the Bitcoin system running in a global catastrophe? Bitcoin can go dormant for a century, and it'd still be fine. You just turn it back on. Tribulations now, yeah. And a ham radio, and maybe some actual ham. Yep. Rural and tillable land is going up, up, up. People don't get left behind on that. Yep, it's nice. It's nice. It's in the Wyckoff reaccumulation weekly chart. Yeah. Hey guys, by the way, as you continue, here's a really good way to explain this. As you continue to see Bitcoin trading down here around $100,000, I would highly encourage you, if you have not already, now is a great time to sign up. Pull this up. Now is a great time to sign up for iTrust Capital. If you guys have not already signed up for iTrust Capital, I highly recommend that you do so. Bitcoin is in a very, very solid place to be acquiring right now if you're going to hold for 5 to 10 years. We are currently about 18% retrace from all-time high, which is not bad at all. Pretty solid entry. And so if you're looking at acquiring Bitcoin and holding it for the long term, a great way to do that is in a tax advantage retirement account. I don't know about you, but I don't like giving them government money. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think the government does a very good job with it. I've been very clear on that. And so I look for any legal manner necessary that I can to avoid taxes. And one way that I can do that is by maxing out traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. So if you have not already, I highly recommend that you sign up for iTrust Capital with the link in the description box down below. Go to itrustcapital.com/crypto-jeb, and you can actually get access to a traditional or a Roth IRA and fund it with actual spot Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. This is also a really cool feature they have. They have something called a PCA, which is a premium custody account. Basically, this is a one-way in, one-way out account, which means you cannot get hacked and have things stolen from you. You can only withdraw funds to the account with which you deposited the funds. Wow. Why haven't more people thought of that? This is going to be industry standard in a few years as an option for security. Even if you are foolish with your password and you somehow get compromised, iTrust Capital has your back, because with the premium custody accounts, which is basically everything, all the tax advantage accounts can be set up like this. You can only withdraw funds in cash, not through cryptocurrency, but in cash in the way that you deposited them, which is fantastic for security. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for iTrust Capital with the link in the description box down below. All markets will collapse in March and April. Maybe. We'll see. Your exact words were to be prepared for 94K and set your limit orders for 98K, because we would probably only see a quick wick down. That's exactly what I said. Thank you. Exactly what I said. Dude shilling hard. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you a socialist? Do you not believe in free market? iTrust Capital has a good product. And when you sign up for it, it benefits you. This is my full-time job. Of course it's a business. What do you think I don't... What really? Is that I just love those comments. That's so funny. If you want to make money in cryptocurrency, you have to understand being paid for your time. Yes, iTrust Capital is a sponsor of this channel. Yes, we're under contract with them. Yes, I promote their stuff. Yes, we get paid to do that. It's called advertising. Welcome to the real world, my friend. You watched an advertisement before you watched the stream. You know why? Because this is my full-time job. I just think it's really funny when people don't understand that. I mean, come on, guys. Seriously, there's an economy that we buy and sell things. Now, that said, we have integrity, so we never take a sponsor that we don't truly believe in. I truly believe in iTrust Capital. I'm a very big fan of them. All right. So, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin dropped at its very bottom down here to about, depending on the market, down to about $99,000, even dropped down to 98 very briefly on a couple of markets. I think Coinbase dropped down just below 99 there for a minute, down to 98.8 or so. Down to 98.8. So, yeah, like I said, in general, what I'm looking for is for Bitcoin to be able to break up here above $110,000 to $112,000. After that point in time, that is where I would be able to say that Bitcoin is now in a more so confirmed uptrend, and I would be looking for Bitcoin to rally from here. But I really need to see Bitcoin reclaim like 107, 108, 109, 110 before I am able to be very confident that the market is done bottoming. So for right now, we're still under our 94 to 100K correction. Get premium. Who watches ads? Well, then you're still paying for it because you're paying money for premium. I mean, come on. Nothing's free, right? Like YouTube. People say YouTube's free. No, it's not. You watch ads or you pay for premium. That's how you pay for it. It's not free. You pay for it with 5 seconds of your time to watch it before you hit skip ad, because that's what we do. We skip ad every single time. You know, it's guys, there's an economy. Like, there's so many people that do not understand the way that economies work. And they're trying to buy Bitcoin. Like, come on. Seriously. Let's see. All right. Sold everything, down 61%. Oh, yeah, then you get ad block. But then when you get ad block, you pay for ad block. So you're still paying for something. Or you get ad block and you don't pay for it, but you get their ads. It was pretty funny. All right. Government needs the taxes. Luckily for me, crypto gains taxes are taxed by 22%, while stocks gains are taxed by 37.4% in Norway. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, so I am tentatively encouraged by the recent price action, but before I go making new calls, I need more information. We've been pretty spot on with our calls lately. In fact, I will go ahead and I'm going to show you real quick the last 3 calls that we've made. If we go into the daily chart, delete everything. I'm going to run it back here to right here. our calls, no, actually, it's not there. It's a little further forward. We started making these calls and actually like writing them down. I think it was like September the 8th, September the 9th. So our 2 calls that we made were $118,000 by September the 18th. So we called for a top to be right here. We called for a top to be right here on September the 18th at 118. And then we called for a top to be at 130 here on October the 15th. And then after that, we called for a drop down to between. We called for a drop down in by the end of the year to 94 to $100,000. These were our 3 calls. These have been our 3 calls over the last little bit of time. The market hit the first one, almost hit the second one, didn't quite get there. That's what the market actually did compared to what we predicted. So if you need a better reason to watch the YouTube channel and subscribe, I don't know what you want, but you can go back. If you don't believe me, here's what you do. Go over here to Twitter, go to Grok. Find me all of Jeb's predictions for the last 3 months. And it'll tell you. It'll tell you. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. Generally, we're pretty spot on. Come over here, check me, find it, right? So yeah. Now you got to specify which Jeb because finding other Jebs, but crypto Jeb. But anyway, that's been our prediction. So that's where I am pretty encouraged. And I want to wait for more information before I go and start making newer predictions because we've been pretty spot on these. This one was perfect. I mean, it could not have been better. This one's been accurate so far. This one, I should have noticed a longer term uptrend. And I would have, if I had have noticed that, put it here at $126,000 because that's where we hit the long-term uptrend. So that's where I want to make sure I'm not being hasty in predictions. And I'm waiting until I have all the available information that I need. We have an uptrend that's right here on a logarithmic chart. Right there. As you can see. So that's where, as you can see, that's that uptrend. I shouldn't have put something up here, because we should have called for it to stop there. So that was the mistake we made there on 130. So yeah, we're learning from what we're seeing. We're continuing to chug right along here. And at the end of the day, guys, I highly encourage you, if you have not already, to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more content. I really appreciate all of you guys for being here. We are going to go ahead and wrap it out. If you guys need anything from us, you know where to find us. Make sure to follow us on X. We've got a lot of content going out on X right now. Go follow me at CryptoJeb. Pushing in on 100,000 followers. We've gotten like 600,000 followers in the last, about 600 followers in the last 24 to 48 hours or so. So very encouraged by that. We're going to have a lot of growth going into next year. Whatever Bitcoin does, this channel is going to continue to grow aggressively. I really appreciate you all being here. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And I love you so much. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.